and welcome to the Exceptional Educators Playbook. I'm Stephanie Kidd, a math consultant here at KVEC, and with me today is Cheryl Mathis, our LI consultant today.
Hi, friends.
The purpose of this podcast is to offer professional learning opportunities while giving teachers a platform to share their expertise. Each month, we will highlight a different topic which every educator needs to know, and each week, the topics will be broken down into specific content areas. Week 1 is literacy. Week 2 is math. Week 3 is the social, emotional, and behavioral side of that. And then week 4 is, of course, our low incidence community. Today, we are going to be discussing collaboration and how collaboration with other teachers and the aides in your buildings, or the paraprofessionals, as we're going to call them today, and how that team teaching with our paraprofessionals is so important. We are excited today because our guest speaker is Thomas Burns from Owsley County and Miss Julia Bishop from Lee County. We also have 2 wonderful aides today, Miss Carrie Campbell and Patty Cole. They are both paraprofessionals in Miss Dr. Julie's classroom.
It's good to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you all. I think this is probably the first time we've had paraprofessionals on the show. Can you remember another time, Steph?
No.
So this is a first for us, and we're so excited to have you and look forward to learning together.
If you have any questions or any comments, please drop them in the chat today. Okay, Miss Cheryl, I'm going to let you guys have a discussion.
All right. So guys, I want to let you introduce yourself as we kick things off, and just kind of tell the folks who you are and a little bit about yourself. Thomas, I'll let you go ahead.
All right. My name is Thomas J. Burns. I teach low intensity special education here in Owsley County at the high school. I've been at this for about 16 years now. This is my 16th year teaching. And this has also been just such a real transitional year for us here at the high school because of the COVID, and also because this year my long-term paraprofessional has left us to go into nursing, and so we've had to make some adjustments based on that.
All right. Good to have you, Thomas. Julia?
Yes, my name is Julia Bishop. This is my 16th year of teaching. 14 years have been in the FMD classroom here at the middle and high school in Lee County. I always like to say that I get the kids in the 6th grade and they stay with me till they graduate. We're like a little family. We really get to know each other.
Good. And Miss Carrie and Miss Patty, I'll let you guys go ahead.
My name is Carrie Campbell, and I have been an instructional aide in here for 2 years. I started out substitute teaching in here, and I love the kids and the ladies that I work with, and I just took the job.
Awesome.
We didn't let her go. We kept her.
Sounds like you kept a good one, so good for you.
My name's Patty Cole, and I've been in the school system here at Lee County for 22 years. But this is my 15th year in the FFD room, and I knew the kids when they would come through lunch, so it wasn't really new to me. But the first year it was a little trying, but you learn, you love them, love the kids, and I've enjoyed every day of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited to have you. So welcome. All right, guys. So we've got lots of folks who'll be watching this, and some of those folks may be new teachers and some may be veteran teachers looking for some new ideas. So as we begin, I was wanting to talk a little bit about how you all work as a team with paraprofessionals and with yourselves, as well as with teachers in the general ed setting. So how do you all go about that?
In our classroom, we've worked together long enough that we kind of almost can read each other's minds. I'd almost say everybody kind of has their strengths. For example, maybe I'm doing content and Carrie's pulling another small group, 1 or 2 students, and she's doing fine motor skills with them, working on their talk board. Patty's really hands-on. She does a lot of the restroom, you know, going to the lunchroom, feedings, those kind of things. Also, as far as in here, I think we've learned that we can tell from the students' body language too. So if I'm in a small group and maybe I can use a little extra assistance, Carrie will step right in, you know, and if we're doing, say, the STAR program and she's there with their token board, you know, ready to give their treats that way. While I'm doing the modeling, she's doing the rewarding. Meantime, Patty's helping kids do Lexia on the computer, different things like that. And as far as working with other classroom teachers, I've had teachers in the past that say, you know, bring them on, bring all your kids if you want to, and they find a way to adapt their curriculum. And we have some kids that have been able to go out into classrooms on their own. We have other teachers that prefer if Patty or Carrie go with them just to help, you know, the students with their accommodations. But we've never had anybody, you know, that's not been more than welcoming and accommodating with our kids.
Awesome. All right, ladies, do you have anything to add, Miss Carrie or Miss Patty?
No, she said it pretty good.
All right, sounds pretty awesome. Well, it sounds like you all really have a good system of knowing each other and knowing the strengths and weaknesses of each other. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
It really has been great. I mean, I've mentioned to you the other day, you know, that I've worked with Patty since I've been in this classroom. You know, I tell everybody that Patty trained me. She taught me everything I know. And we've had other great workers and paraprofessionals, but when Carrie came, this group of three, I mean, it's transformed our classroom.
Awesome.
Just the chemistry is excellent.
Awesome.
So how are you guys using your great chemistry, but how are you guys using each other in the virtual setting? What are you guys doing for that?
What we have in our virtual setting right now, I developed the Google Classroom, and I'm responsible for making the weekly lesson plans. Patty and Carrie are both listed as teachers, so they can go on there. They can interact with the kids. Of course, they can upload any videos or messages, anything like that. We actually have 3 Google Classrooms. That way we can be more flexible. So I have a Google Classroom that's dedicated to like my beginning readers and students that are a little bit more independent. We have a one in the middle for kids that pre-reading, but you know, right on the cusp. And then I also have several nonverbal students that are working on a 3rd Google Classroom. But yeah, in the virtual setting, you know, whether we're here at school or whether we're at home, they have the complete access that I do too, to the lessons and the children.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Thomas, and how are you doing with your virtual and what kinds of things are you using?
Well, because our community is what it is, we've had some with limited access somewhat to internet in some places of the county. We've kind of done a hybrid model as far as virtual is concerned. I do post new assignments and everything in our Google Classroom and make for those students that do have access to the internet and a personal device that's assigned. Most of our kids in our district have been assigned Chromebooks at home, and that really has made the virtual classroom a lot more manageable. But for those students that don't have their own one-on-one device because of various and sundry reasons, because of age level or something like that, I actually call my parents and my students every day and check in and walk through lessons with them and things like that. One of the things we've made a lot of use for, we started it with for purposes of having snow pilot days and things like that, is send home skill sheets for things that the students should be practicing for their IEPs and individual goals and learning that way. And that's helped them to continue on right along following the path. They're kind of used to that idea by now, so they keep going. The big conflict with that I've had this year is I've got students that I physically haven't met yet assigned to my caseload now because we moved our 6th grade over to the high school this year. And that's a change of pace for them. That's a change of pace for me. And we're just getting used to each other as far as that's concerned, getting to know one another and looking forward to the time when we are all together again.
Which will hopefully be Monday, right?
Here's hoping.
Hopefully so. So Thomas, what kinds of things have you found that works with kids that you haven't even like physically seen face to face? I mean, what's been maybe one of your most successful things?
Well, one of the things that I've been really lucky about that is being able to work with in-classroom teachers that are more doing Google Meets with these kids. I've been participating in their classrooms at least twice a day as far as what their core content is concerned, and watching them see. So I'm observing firsthand what they're supposed to be learning and how they interact in the classroom, and then I can base my judgment based on that. And that helps because our teachers here are great at inclusion for our kids, even in a Google Classroom or something like that. And fortunately, all of my students that are in the 6th grade and everything like that are pretty good about being on Google Classroom and participating with those teachers.
Yeah. So are you modifying?
I know them indirectly, if nothing else.
Awesome. I think we had a little bit of a delay there. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So are you modifying those assignments for them, Thomas? Is that kind of how you're doing?
Absolutely. I've had a couple of those students come in to do some in-person with us as we've had this in-person assistance, and that's been nice, of course, getting to see them and getting on that way, but we also modify their assignments based on their individual skill levels. We do a lot of individual reading and stuff like that. We have devices built into the Chromebook to help with that. Our Read Write Gold has been a blessing.
Oh, yeah.
But that's helped us to manage these kids and help them be able to access the material most effectively. And I definitely have to shout out for our 6th grade teachers because they've been very good at the complex reading and stuff like that, breaking it down to a level that any kid can understand. And they're incredibly talented at that. There's very little I can actually even add sometimes to what they've already done without being asked or prompted or knowing what our kids' needs are, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So Dr. Bishop, how are you implementing your SDI with this new virtual setting? Any tips or tricks or exciting things? And ladies, feel free to jump in.
I think my biggest learning curve was learning to be more flexible. When we first realized back in the fall that we were going to be 100% virtual during the height of the fall pandemic, I think I overplanned. So what I did was I ended up actually having to go back and look at the IEPs, look at what their goals were, their most important things, looking at the alternative assessment standards and say, okay, we need to focus on A, B, and C. You know, in the classroom full time, we also have more time to do the extra things, the more fun things. But in the virtual setting, when these students, you know, may be sharing the same computer with, you know, 2 or 3 siblings too, it was important that we condensed it down. We stayed on their goals. I've done a lot of videos taping myself so that they have some video modeling to look for. We've even posted some of our, you know, STAR program examples on there. I've used YouTube a lot of times. So if they have gross motor or fine motor skill goals, that they have some video modeling through YouTube. As I said, we have our 3 different classes so we can do flexible grouping. The parents have been great, and that's another way we've had to be flexible. In the past, I probably wouldn't have chosen to maybe use Facebook, for example, to communicate. But in this day and time, you know, if you can't get them on their cell phone, they're almost always, you know, instantly available through Messenger. So that's been something we've used. The parents have been great to give us anecdotal, you know, notes and advice and say, you know, my student really enjoyed reading that book, but he struggled with the vocabulary, you know, something like that. Google Forms has been a lifesaver for formative assessments. So we can give them a reading passage or some math problems, and then the data is collected right there. A lot of it has been trying not to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of resources out there. It's just a Google search away.
That's pretty cool. So Carrie and Patty, how are you all working with Miss Julia to make this train run?
She said, how are we working with this?
They've been cheerleaders for the kids, especially if we have some that may not want to respond to Miss Bishop, the teacher. You know, Patty and Carrie get them to respond.
Yeah, well, I could see that. Sometimes kids respond to different adults better than others.
Absolutely,
So.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Sounds awesome.
We went a little far, I remember.
Yeah.
There you go. Sometimes you have to do that.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Thomas, you have not met your aide yet, right?
Well, they've not met the students yet.
They've not
I've
met the students,
actually
okay.
familiar with the person that they've hired to be our new aide along, but they've not been working with our end of the program just yet because they've not are planning on transitioning over until we're back in person.
Okay.
We have, however, worked nicely with some of our other paraprofessionals in the district that we divided up our students that are falling behind and have special needs like that, and they've assigned each of them a mentor here in the district among our other paraprofessionals and non-certified staff, and that's been incredibly helpful with keeping up with some of their needs and things like that.
That is pretty cool.
They bounced off of us ideas on how to motivate these kids and things like that, and vice versa. Told us things we might not have known off the top of our head because they're more familiar with the student in particular from interacting with them themselves, and that's been helpful.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'd never really heard about that mentorship program. That's pretty awesome. So did that just start recently?
I like it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. Do you mind to share?
Well, essentially, we kind of broke them up our student base. It's the primary focus of it is students that have special learning needs, like our special education students, and students that have technological issues that where they can't be on directly for the Google Meets and cases like that, and also students who are falling behind and getting their classwork done, things like that. And they've assigned several of my students to the same wonderful person that has been, and they've been communicating with me very well with via email, a couple of phone calls, things like that, and just keeping us up to date as to what these kids need to be doing, where they're at, what kind of questions and things they have, and that's something I've been able to work with them with when I have mine with them.
That's pretty cool.
I like that.
I love that idea. It's really nice.
It's really, whoever came up with it in our district is done a wonderful idea. I really appreciate it.
It's a really good idea. So it might be something that could be recreated in other schools to help students during this tough time that we're living in. So I love that. So Julie, I just wanted to circle back to you. You had mentioned a couple times the STAR program. And so I think that stands for Strategies for Teaching Based on Autism Research. So would you mind just to kind of talk briefly about that? Because we may have some teachers that have never heard about that, and kind of talk a little bit about how you run that both virtually and in a non-virtual setting, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, my first introduction to the STAR program was actually through a KVEC training. Patty and I traveled to Knott County. Was that Possum Holler Road? We got mixed up, but that's a side story. We'll have to tell you sometime.
Well, I'll tell you this. You were not the only one. That training, the presenters also got stuck on Possum Trot Road? Yeah, so the presenters,
like that. Yeah, we were there.
The presenters were from Oregon. Yeah, presenters were from Oregon, and they were upset.
The training was it was hands-on. It wasn't just a sit and get. I mean, they actually brought the materials. In fact, they encouraged the districts to purchase the materials ahead of time so that we had the kits. There are 3 levels, and it covers the gamut of skills. I mean, we have skills such as exiting off the bus and walking to the classroom, skills such as if I clap, you clap, or I hold up 2 cards and say, show me the car, and the student identifies the car. Then the skills get a little more advanced, writing the first letter of your name, writing your entire first name, all the way up through some basic literacy skills. And the training at first, Patty and I think we were a little overwhelmed. I'll admit there was a lot of information, and we were like, okay, well, I think, this student could use some of this kit maybe. But once we got down and actually started looking at the materials, looking at the lesson plans, it all started coming together.
Yeah.
And it provides your formative assessments for you. It tells you, you know, when to move on, when to take a step back with the students. It's hands-on. They have a token board. The STAR term is penny on. So our token board, I think, is actually little plastic stars or something. But our kids have made the connection. Even some of our learners that struggle the most have made the connection that once they get their token board filled up, that they're going to get a reward. So that's an incentive for them. Yeah. We have one little guy that tries to sneak, and he magically goes from, you know, 1 token to 5 tokens if you look the other direction. But, you know, that tells me that, you know, he understands the process, and he knows if I do A, then I'll get B, which is great. And it's taught him patience, and it's taught him, you know, a few skills also. Yeah. I'm trying to think what we enjoy the most of it. It's really interactive. The kids know what to do. In fact, when we get, like, one of the skills is to match functional objects. So a cup to a cup and a bowl to a bowl. And while I'm setting up, you know, I'll see the kids manipulating the objects and stuff, so they're familiar with it and they're ready to get started. Now, in a regular school year, what we've done is it's usually one-on-one between us and the student. So either I or Patty or Carrie will sit there and we'll go through the day's lessons and take our notes and our data. Like I've said before, sometimes Patty or Carrie have kind of tag teamed with me so that somebody's observing what the student's doing and somebody else is going through the direction. So that's been good. In a virtual setting, we haven't actually done it in a live Google Meet, but that would be an option to do. But I have taped some video modeling and posted it to Google Classroom, just going through the lessons. And the materials are so common, you like cups, cars, bells. The parents can reproduce it at home without much struggle, without having to go out and buy, you know, a lot of materials, which is great too. Yeah, I love that. I love things that can be reproduced at home, especially during this time, so everybody can have a set. So that's pretty cool. But for everybody watching the recording, I'll put a link to that where you can get some more information on that on the video, so that you can share for that. So we've got a few minutes left, and as we kind of come to a close, what are some final thoughts that you would like to just share, and some final advice that you'd like to share with other teachers and paraprofessionals who may just be starting out or who may be looking for some fresh ideas? I think the advice that I would give is put yourself out there and try. Last year in March, when we thought, oh, COVID will last a week or two and then we'll be back, I started doing Facebook Lives just for my kids. So I would read them a story and we'd do a reading lesson, or I would demonstrate how to do a math concept. And it was less about content and more about me just interacting with my students and missing that connection, you know, the day to day. Well, after doing that for several weeks, then once I realized that we were going into a full-time virtual, I was a lot more familiar and a lot more at ease with making the video lessons. So that helped a lot. And also, you know, I had people that weren't in my class that said, hey, my kids, you know, they watch your Facebook Live at 10 o'clock every morning. So it reached, you know, a bigger audience than even what I was shooting for. So I would say, you know, give it a try. If something doesn't work, you know, well, you know that tool didn't work. Let's try a new tool, but definitely be creative and definitely try new things.
Pretty cool. Miss Patty and Miss Carrie, do you have any advice that you think might be good for new teachers and new paras working together?
Enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
Enjoy the kids.
Yeah. Learn the kids.
Yeah.
When you learn them, then you can do a lot. Once you learn their wants and stuff, you kind of can. It goes smoother, let's say that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And I'll piggyback on what they just said. I know Patty, you know, has done it for years now, and she talked about how she was a little worried when she first came in. I don't think the first time Carrie subbed, you know, she knew she'd be here working full time, but the job and the kids just, they grow on you
fast.
Awesome. I love that. All right, Thomas, do you have any final advice for new teachers or veteran teachers and paras out there?
Well, I definitely, just building off what Dr. Bishop and her staff have had to say about this, communication is the most important part of all of this. Being able to try to figure out how to communicate with our students with communication deficits. You learn a lot more about even the topic, subject matter yourself, trying to break it down in ways that make it clear to them. And that's been enormously helpful for me in my practice as a teacher, is learning how to communicate better with those students. And the biggest revelation, I think, of this whole doing things virtually and digitally and online has been being able to communicate better with our parents at home and get to know them a little bit better and understand the kind of burdens that these students have at home and how their interaction changes. And because we don't normally get to see our kids in that setting, but we are now. And that has helped us to have a better idea of who these kids are all the time. And that makes being able to reach them a lot more efficient and a lot more effective. And we couldn't do this without the help that we've had from our parents. They've been absolutely wonderful. And throughout this whole process, making sure that these kids get what they need, that they're online, that they get to communicate what their needs are to us. And I really appreciate that. I shout out definitely to all those parents out there that are doing that. And make sure if you're a new teacher to utilize that resource.
Awesome.
Those relationships are some of the most important parts of being able to teach students with special needs, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that sounds awesome. It sounds like, in speaking to both of you all in both classrooms, that really relationships with students and relationships with each other as far as the classroom staff and relationships with parents, that you all put a lot of value on that. So I'm so glad that you all have highlighted that today, because it really is a crucial piece of working and being successful with students and implementing that IEP.
So I think we're going to close up, and you guys make sure you stay on for just a few more minutes. But we want to thank everyone for joining us for this week's session of Exceptional Educators Playbook. I am excited that we were learning about collaboration in the LI classroom, but I love the fact that you guys are awesome. You're a team that loves your kids. You're a team that is willing to try new things, and that is huge for our students. And your kids are very blessed to have you. If you want to learn more about what we've talked about today, of course, you can always visit the Holler, or you can visit KVEC EC website. You can also give a shout out to Miss Cheryl Mathis at cherylmathis@theholler.org. And for any other information that you want about today's podcast or any other podcast that we've done, like I said, it's theholler.org, KVEC Special Ed, or KVEC SPED. And then we hope that you can join us next month, as we're going to be discussing goals and objectives. Until next time, we'll holler at you later.
Holler at you later, guys. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.